Japan is a country where ancient legends coexist with modern times, and every corner hides its secrets. From mysterious forests and sacred mountains to vanished kingdoms and cursed swords, this country holds stories that capture the imagination. I suggest you don't delay. So get ready to embark on a journey through Japan, because while watching our documentary, you will see that this is a country where every legend can be more terrifying than you think. Myths about Kappa, the water demon of Japan. One of the most enigmatic and popular myths in Japanese mythology is that of the Kappa, a water demon that has long been a part of Japanese folklore and pop culture. These creatures, resembling a cross between a human and a turtle, are often depicted with green skin, yellow eyes, and a cap on their heads filled with water, which is the source of their power. But who are these mysterious creatures, and why do they remain so prominent in Japanese mythology? Kappa are said to inhabit rivers, lakes, and ponds throughout Japan. They are known for their sinister reputation, often committing not only frightening acts but also horrific acts, such as kidnapping children and attacking people. According to legend, Kappa are capable of pulling people into the water and dragging them to the bottom, making them a symbol of the dangers of bodies of water. But what makes these mythical creatures so terrifying is their cunning and ability to manipulate human weaknesses. One of the most common versions of the legend is that Kappa live in rivers and ponds, and their distinctive feature is a cap on their head filled with water. This water is the source of their power. If a person manages to force a Kappa to bend forward, the water from the cap will spill out, rendering the Kappa helpless. Therefore, if one encounters a Kappa, all one has to do is bow to it, and following Japanese custom, it will bow back, resulting in the loss of its power. These myths serve as a warning about the importance of respecting the natural world and maintaining harmony with the forces that inhabit it. However, different parts of Japan have their own unique myths about Kappa. In some areas, Kappa are portrayed as more benevolent creatures who can help people. For example, they can teach the art of fishing or impart knowledge of herbal medicine. In other myths, Kappa lead a more peaceful lifestyle, avoiding people and preferring to live in seclusion. But despite these different versions, their basic image as dangerous and cunning creatures has persisted throughout the centuries. Kappa are often depicted in Japanese culture as mysterious and somewhat obscure creatures, straddling the line between good and evil. While in ancient times they were fearsome demons, in modern Japanese folklore, Kappa often appear in more playful and comical forms, such as in animation, manga, and popular films. One of the most striking examples is the animated series and films about Kappa, in which the creature becomes the protagonist, exploring the world and sometimes saving people from other mythological creatures. Myths about Kappa also often serve as a metaphor for the struggle with natural forces. In some interpretations, Kappa represents the forces of nature with which humans must learn to live in harmony to avoid disasters and calamities. These myths also raise themes of responsibility for the surrounding world, as well as reminders that humans must always exercise caution and respect the elements of nature. Interestingly, cultural echoes of the Kappa myths still exist in Japan. Some villages still maintain traditions according to which, if people wander into areas inhabited by these creatures, they leave small offerings or even perform rituals to appease the water spirits. Sometimes this is done to prevent accidents on the water or in lakes. Thus, the Kappa myth is not only a fascinating story about water demons, but also a lesson in the importance of respecting nature, with its power and dangers, and a reminder of how mythology and folklore shape our perception of human interaction with the world. The riddle of the Golden Pavilion of Kinkakuji. The Golden Pavilion of Kinkakuji, located in Kyoto, is one of Japan's most famous and majestic landmarks. It is a Buddhist temple that attracts thousands of tourists from around the world thanks to its incredible beauty and unique architecture. However, despite its popularity, the history of Kinkakuji is shrouded in mysticism and mystery, and the temple itself holds not only religious significance, but also dark chapters of its past that remain the subject of discussion and speculation. The temple was built in the 14th century, in 1393, as part of the palace of the shogun Ashikaga Yoshimitsu. At the time of its construction, it was not only a place of prayer and meditation, but also a symbol of political power. The Golden Pavilion, a small building covered in gold leaf, is a stunning example of Japanese architecture, combining elements of Zen Buddhism and traditions characteristic of the Muromachi period. The pavilion's exterior, reflected in the pond where it stands, creates a truly magical impression. However, for most people, the Golden Pavilion is associated not only with beauty and harmony, but also with a tragedy that occurred in 1943. At that moment, a terrible event occurred that radically changed the fate of the temple and its place in Japanese history. That year, the temple was set on fire. It is said that the fire was set by a young monk named Tsurumi, who was obsessed with destroying this symbol of wealth and power. Tsurumi was a profound Zen Buddhist and believed that the Kinkaku-ji temple, which embodied wealth and vanity, should be destroyed. Legend has it that the monk committed this act not only out of personal hatred for material possessions, but also because he sought spiritual purification through self-immolation, believing that the temple's destruction would help him attain enlightenment. After the temple was burned, Tsurumi was caught and convicted, but his motivation and actions left a deep mark on the history of Kinkaku-ji. This event sparked a new wave of mysterious stories and legends associated with this place. Many believe that the burning of Kinkaku-ji temple was a curse of sorts, and that since then the temple has carried not only a sacred but also a tragic aura. Some locals claim that strange sounds can sometimes be heard at night emanating from the temple's empty walls, and that its reflection in the water often appears more ominous and altered. After the temple's destruction, its restoration became one of the most important tasks for the Japanese. In 1962, the temple was completely restored and its gold covering was restored. This restoration not only returned the temple to its former glory, but also became a symbol of Japanese resilience and will, demonstrating that even such tragedies cannot destroy the spirit of this historical monument. Today, Kinkaku-ji remains a symbol of Japanese culture and religion, captivating millions of people awed by its beauty and the profound philosophy behind its creation. But the mystery surrounding its burning remains unsolved. Like many other great historical monuments, its history is fraught with secrets that remind us that every great symbol has its dark side, and that tragedies are often an integral part of great stories. Forbidden Island of Iwo Jima, located in the Pacific Ocean, is one of Japan's most mysterious and enigmatic places. This small volcanic island, with its inhospitable landscape and virtually uninhabited population, conceals not only natural secrets, but also a long history of military conflicts, mysterious events, and covert operations. Its name, Iwo Jima, means volcano island in Japanese, referring to the island's active volcanic activity. But its history is far more intriguing and filled with many unsolved events. Iwo Jima itself has a strategic location, which made it of great importance during World War II. In 1945, at the height of the war, Iwo Jima became the scene of one of the bloodiest and most brutal battles ever fought. This was a key moment in the military history of Japan and the United States, as Iwo Jima became a crucial staging area for the Americans, who sought to capture it for their further advance on the Japanese home islands. The battle for Iwo Jima, known as the Battle of Iwo Jima, was one of the most brutal episodes of World War II, resulting in the deaths of over 6,000 American and 20,000 Japanese soldiers. The conflict on the island was so intense that many consider it the culmination of the Pacific War. It was in this context that Iwo Jima became famous thanks to the famous photograph "Flag Raising on Iwo Jima," taken during the battle. This image symbolized the decisive moment of victory for the United States and became one of the most famous photographs of World War II. However, after the war, Iwo Jima also became the subject of numerous rumors and conspiracy theories, as the island remained closed to visitors for a long time. Local residents, as well as military personnel assigned to its defense, spoke of mysterious underground tunnels and hidden warehouses built by the Japanese during the war. These tunnels, according to some accounts, allegedly concealed military technology that could have significantly impacted the course of the war, but it was never discovered. Iwo Jima also became the site of many rumors of supernatural phenomena. Over time, rumors circulated that the island was haunted by the spirits of fallen soldiers, who found no peace after their tragic deaths. Visitors to the island claimed to hear strange sounds at night, footsteps, screams, rustling, and that in some places there was a genuine cold that could not be explained by normal natural phenomena. These stories often added to rumors of a curse on the island, which remained associated with numerous casualties and tragedies. In recent decades, the island has become a subject of study for archaeologists and historians. Excavations have uncovered the remains of Japanese military installations, weapons, and traces of the lives of Japanese soldiers who lived under constant siege and oppression. Old Japanese documents and maps have also been found, providing insight into how the island's defenses were organized. However, despite all this research, many of Iwo Jima's mysteries remain unsolved. Some claim that the island still harbors secret Japanese military installations, unknown to anyone, that could have influenced the outcome of World War II. Today, Iwo Jima is part of Japanese territory and is home to monuments dedicated to those who died in the battle. Despite its tragic history, the island remains a fascinating destination for tourists and historians. However, its dark reputation and numerous myths associated with its military past and supernatural phenomena continue to perpetuate its status as a mysterious and dangerous place. The Forbidden Island of Iwo Jima remains one of Japan's most enigmatic corners. It retains its secrets, and perhaps new facts and stories related to its history will continue to emerge for years to come, adding new layers to its mystical and tragic past. Secrets of Okinawa's ancient tombs. Okinawa, an island in the Ryukyu archipelago, is not only a beautiful tropical corner of Japan, but also a place filled with mysteries and ancient secrets. One of the most enigmatic elements of Okinawa are its ancient tombs, which have long attracted the attention of archaeologists, historians, and paranormal researchers. These graves and burial sites, hidden in the island's mountainous regions, remain unsolved and full of secrets that continue to baffle scientists. Okinawa's tombs date back to ancient times, when the island was part of the Ryukyu kingdom. Archaeological research shows that high-ranking aristocrats and rulers were buried here over the centuries. But beyond the ordinary burials, the island also contains others that raise a variety of questions, not only regarding their origins, but also burial methods and the tomb structure itself. One of the most famous types of tombs in Okinawa are fukuso, large stone structures designed for the burial of members of the upper classes. These stone tombs are striking in their architecture. Their construction resembles small temples or shrines, with high stone walls and unique shapes not found in other parts of Japan. Remarkably, such structures were built without the use of modern technology and tools, and they remain extremely precise and durable to this day. Equally mysterious is the fact that Okinawa tombs often lack the usual artifacts or objects one might expect from the burials of high-ranking individuals. Instead, some contain strange objects, such as ritual stones, amulets, and other mystical objects, which scholars believe may have been used to maintain communication between the living and the dead. In some cases, archaeologists have found animal remains among the burials, indicating possible sacrificial rituals associated with the culture of the time. One of the most famous myths concerns the prince's tomb, located in one of the most remote corners of the island. It is believed to be the grave of one of the Ryukyu rulers, hidden from prying eyes. Legends say the tomb is filled with countless treasures and gold objects, but it was buried so carefully that no one can discover its location. Numerous expeditions have been organized to search for these treasures, but none have been successful. Some believe the tomb is guarded by the spirits of ancestors, and those who dare disturb the peace of this sacred place will be cursed. Interestingly, exploration of some tombs has led to the discovery of strange frescoes and stone carvings that have left mysterious marks on the walls. These drawings depict figures that cannot be clearly identified with any known mythological being, leading researchers to speculate about possible connections to lost cultures or unknown civilizations. Another astonishing fact is the presence of giant stones in some tombs, positioned in such a way as to create a special energy. Many believe that these stones are not simply building materials, but important ritual elements that may have played a role in ancient magical practices or rituals. In some places on the island, it is believed that these stones may be associated with the very spirits that, according to Japanese mythology, guard the world of the dead. Thus, Okinawa's ancient tombs are more than just cemeteries, but true mysteries that reflect the unique culture and mystical beliefs of the ancient Ryukyu kingdom. These structures not only attract the attention of archaeologists, but also continue to inspire numerous myths and legends about the secrets these tombs conceal. The mystery of these burials remains unsolved, and many of them will likely continue to conceal their secrets for a long time to come. Mysterious Mount Fuji. Mount Fuji, at 3,776 meters, is not only Japan's highest peak, but also a vital cultural and spiritual symbol. It attracts thousands of pilgrims and tourists and inspires artists, poets, and writers. In Japan, the mountain is considered sacred, and its exquisite contours can be seen in paintings and photographs associated with the grandeur of nature and cosmic order. However, its majestic appearance conceals a host of mysteries that fascinate not only scientists but also mystics. The mountain is considered a confluence of various spiritual and energetic currents. According to Japanese mythology, Fuji is the abode of the gods, and its summit is the entrance to another world. Shinto monks and shamans have strived for centuries to climb it, believing that the summit bestows not only physical but also spiritual strength. Mount Fuji is also a volcano, and its activity presents another mystery. Its last eruption occurred in 1707, and although the volcano has not erupted for a long time, many fear that Fuji could suddenly erupt again. Geologists are constantly monitoring volcanic activity in the region, but predicting an eruption remains impossible. Mount Fuji's mystery is further enhanced by its natural setting. Not far from its foot lies the Aokigahara Forest, known as the Suicide Forest. This forest, often associated with tragic events, is also part of Fuji mythology. Legends say that evil spirits dwell in this forest, luring people into their net. Fuji's summit is often hidden by clouds, giving it an even more mystical and inaccessible appearance. Traces of ancient lava flows can be found on its surface, as well as traces of a wide variety of cultures, from samurai to monasteries. Every year, many people make a pilgrimage to the mountain, climbing a specially paved road to reach its summit. There are other, more obscurantist aspects to Mount Fuji. For example, in some Japanese myths, the mountain is considered a place where deepest desires are fulfilled, but this very same quality makes it a potential trap for those who become too absorbed in their aspirations. In Japanese culture, Mount Fuji is also known as a symbol of rebirth. It is depicted as something eternal, something that remains unchanged despite the changes around it. Artists and writers use it to convey a state of harmony in the pursuit of perfection. Mount Fuji even has temples, such as the Fujisan Shrine, where pilgrims come to seek spiritual purification. Many believe the mountain possesses a special energy capable of cleansing the mind and body. Fuji is more than just a natural phenomenon. It is a mystery that has captivated and fueled people's imaginations for centuries. Myths and legends associated with the mountain continue to be relevant today. Perhaps this mystery will remain unsolved, and Mount Fuji will continue to serve as a symbol of the eternal quest, both for Japan and the world. The secret of Japan's tsunami wall. Japan is a country that not only amazes with its culture, but also makes you reflect on the incredible engineering solutions that allow it to exist in harmony with nature, despite the constant threat of natural disasters. One such threat is tsunamis, giant waves that can cause devastation along the coast. Situated on the Pacific Ring of Fire, Japan faces this danger on a regular basis, and local residents and authorities have not developed innovative ways to protect themselves from these disasters. One such example is Japan's tsunami wall, which was built along the coast to protect populated areas from destructive waves. This wall is not only an engineering achievement, but also a remarkable example of how humans can resist the forces of nature. The most famous such wall is located in Fukushima Prefecture. This was one of the most devastated areas after the tsunami of March 1911. In response to this destruction, a project was launched to construct giant seawalls. These walls are enormous concrete structures that partially absorb and redistribute the force of approaching waves. The project was ambitious and expensive, as the walls had to be high and strong enough to withstand the impact of waves. However, the walls themselves represent more than just a physical barrier to the water. They also symbolize the Japanese people's resilience in the face of natural disasters. The walls range in height from 8 to 10 meters at their most vulnerable points, significantly exceeding the height of most tsunamis that occur in the region. Furthermore, this wall consists of a complex system of concrete blocks and reinforcements that can withstand the force of water striking with a force of several thousand tons. Moreover, the tsunami wall is not the only element of Japan's disaster protection system. Early warning systems have been established along the country's coastline, and the population is being trained on how to act in the event of a disaster. Special evacuation routes and temporary shelters have been developed to facilitate the rapid evacuation of people in the event of an approaching tsunami. However, not everyone agrees with such a large-scale project. Critics believe such walls cannot fully protect the country from catastrophic consequences. After all, if the water level resulting from a tsunami rises too high, even the strongest wall will be unable to stop the force. Furthermore, coastal structures, such as residential buildings and infrastructure, remain vulnerable, as the walls can only mitigate damage but cannot protect against the disaster itself. However, it's important to understand that such walls are not a permanent solution. Their construction is part of a comprehensive strategy that includes improving the seismic resistance of buildings, strengthening coastlines, and using innovative methods for predicting and preventing natural disasters. Japanese authorities continue to seek optimal protection methods, combining traditional methods with modern engineering solutions. These walls, though mighty, remain a reminder that the natural world always contains unknown and unpredictable forces. And despite our best efforts, Tragedies like tsunamis cannot be completely avoided. Nevertheless, thanks to these defenses, Japan has been able to significantly reduce the damage from natural disasters and perhaps save many lives in the future. The disappearance of the Kingdom of Yamatai. Japan is a country with deep historical roots and a centuries-old culture. But one of the most mysterious events in its ancient history remains the disappearance of the Kingdom of Yamatai. This ancient state, mentioned by Chinese historians, raises numerous questions among researchers and archaeologists. Where was Yamatai's capital? Why did this powerful kingdom disappear? And is it possible that its existence was a myth? The Kingdom of Yamatai, according to Chinese sources, was located in the territory of today's Japanese archipelago, and existed from approximately the 3rd century BCE to the 3rd century CE. Of particular interest is the enigmatic queen of Yamatai, known as Himiko. Historians agree that Himiko was a female ruler who governed the kingdom during its heyday. She left a lasting impression in Chinese chronicles, where she is described as a powerful and respected ruler who used magic and spiritual practices to maintain her power. However, the subsequent fate of Yamatai remains shrouded in mystery. It is known that the Kingdom of Yamatai disappeared in the 5th century, and no one knows what caused its demise. Some believe that Yamatai was absorbed by more powerful neighboring states, such as Japan, or that it disappeared due to internal disintegration and civil strife. However, archaeological evidence and historical research still cannot provide a definitive answer to this question. One of the most intriguing aspects of Yamatai's disappearance is the location of its capital. Chinese sources state that the capital was located in the east, but there are no precise indications of its geographic location. Archaeologists have repeatedly attempted to locate ancient ruins that might match this description, but all attempts have yielded inconclusive results. Some researchers hypothesize that Yamatai's capital may have been on Kyushu Island, while others believe it was on Honshu Island, where Japan's largest cities are currently located. Further mystery is added by references to the Yamatai culture, which according to some researchers may have been far more developed and technologically advanced than was generally believed at the time. Some archaeological finds indicate a high level of metallurgy and agriculture, a developed trade system, and the construction of complex structures, casting doubt on the idea that Yamatai was a relatively primitive state. For decades, scientists have attempted to find more precise information about Yamatai through archaeological excavations and the study of ancient Chinese and Japanese texts. Despite numerous studies, the mystery of this kingdom's disappearance has never been fully solved. Many still believe that Yamatai was not just a myth, but a real part of Japanese history. This kingdom may have left behind many unexplored secrets related to its culture, religion, and even the most mysterious aspects of its rulers' governance and will. The mystery of Yamatai, its capital, and its disappearance continues to captivate modern historians and archaeologists, and its solution remains one of the most intriguing mysteries of ancient Japan. Today, Mount Yamatai remains an important element of Japanese mythology, and its disappearance is a reminder of how centuries hide not only the physical, but also the cultural traces of vanished civilizations. The curse of the samurai sword. Samurai swords are more than just weapons. They are a symbol of honor, strength, and impeccable discipline in Japanese culture. These exquisite pieces, forged with great skill, embody not only deadly power, but also deep historical and spiritual traditions. In Japan, there are many myths and legends associated with samurai swords, and one of the most mysterious is the so-called curse of the samurai sword. According to this myth, swords, possessing extraordinary strength and edge, were not only weapons but also carriers of dangerous spirits that could influence the fate of their owners. The story of the samurai sword's curse varies depending on the sources, but they all point to the possibility that the samurai wielding the sword could become a victim of their own pride or desire for revenge. These swords, according to legend, could bring good fortune to their owner, but could also cause their downfall and tragic death if the wielder forgot their honor or violated the code of Bushido. A samurai who lost sight of these principles risked losing everything, including their life, and the curse of the weapon became their punishment. One of the most famous stories about the curse of a samurai sword is the story of the Musashi sword. This legendary sword was forged during the samurai era and was considered one of the most powerful. According to legend, the sword possessed special properties. It was incredibly sharp and could cut through any material, including stone. But anyone who carried this sword into battle and did not follow the code of honor was doomed to death. In some versions of this story, the sword was passed from one samurai to another, and each subsequent owner met a tragic fate. deaths were random, yet inevitable, like inescapable fate. These myths about cursed swords were often intertwined with real events. For example, in samurai history, many renowned warriors died in battle, despite their exceptional skill and strength. Some ancient swords, displayed in museums today, bear scratches on their blades, a reminder of the tragic fate of their owners. Furthermore, there are examples of swords retaining their curses across generations. One of the most famous such cases concerns the Ono family, where an ancient sword was passed down from generation to generation. But every family member who received it died under mysterious circumstances. Legend has it that the sword was passed down to the family by an old samurai who cursed it before his death, and all who carried it fell victim to this curse. The Ono family was never able to escape this fate, despite their best efforts. Swords associated with curses have always been considered more than just weapons, but pieces of history that carried the fate of their owner. They often became symbols not only of military might, but also of the spiritual trials their owners endured. In Japan, there is even a special tradition where samurai set out in search of new swords, believing that a weapon forged in honor of a great master can grant them unique powers. The curse of the samurai sword remains one of Japan's most powerful legends. It reflects not only a passion for war and greatness, but also profound symbolism of honor, courage, and inescapable fate. This story holds a lesson for all who choose to take up arms. With great power comes great responsibility, and any breach of honor can have tragic consequences. Lost treasures of the Tokugawa shogunate. The Tokugawa shogunate, which ruled Japan from the 16th to the 19th centuries, left behind not only a rich history and cultural heritage, but also numerous mysteries associated with treasures that remain undiscovered. It is known that the shogunate's rulers, thanks to their enormous influence and wealth, possessed not only incredible financial resources, but also secret artifacts that could fundamentally change our understanding of Japanese history. But where are these treasures located, and why has it taken so long to find them? The Tokugawa shogunate, who ruled Japan for over 200 years, wielded not only political but also economic power, which allowed them to amass untold riches. For many years during the shogunate's reign, everything from trade routes to the treasures themselves was strictly controlled by the authorities. This allowed them to amass a collection of highly valuable objects, from gold and silver jewelry to rare books and artifacts. However, despite numerous attempts by researchers and archaeologists, the treasures of the Tokugawa shogunate remain elusive. The most famous of these treasures are the so-called shogun's treasure, which includes gold statues, ancient jewelry, precious stones, and significant sums of money hidden throughout Japan. Ancient manuscripts report that after the fall of the shogunate in 1868, many of these treasures were moved to secret hideouts to avoid confiscation by the new government. During this time, samurai and other high-ranking officials attempted to conceal all their wealth to protect it from plunder. One of the most famous stories of lost treasure is the myth of the shogun's gold, supposedly hidden in the mountains of Honshu. It is said that when the Tokugawa shogun was overthrown, his personal treasure was hidden in a special cave in these mountains. The cave was rumored to have been camouflaged using ancient Japanese techniques, and to this day, no one has been able to find its entrance. Some researchers claim the treasure may have been removed, but to this day, searches in the area have yielded no concrete results. Another theory involves a mystical cult that may have surrounded the shoguns. Some believe these treasures contain ancient texts, magical artifacts, or even weapons that may possess supernatural powers. These ideas, although unsubstantiated, fuel interest in the treasures of the Tokugawa shogunate, and many researchers are still trying to unravel these mysteries. Furthermore, there are suggestions that some of the treasure may have been hidden in Japan's western regions after the shogunate was destroyed in 1868. At that time, many high-ranking members of the shogunate attempted to flee Tokyo using hidden routes and secret hideouts. Perhaps some of their gold and jewels were hidden in small villages and mountainous areas where authorities could not find them. For centuries, the search for treasure has continued unabated. Numerous expeditions and archaeological excavations have been conducted in attempts to find the lost wealth of the Tokugawa shogunate, but none have been successful. Perhaps the treasure will remain hidden forever, leaving this enigmatic question for future generations of researchers. The mystery of the true location of the Tokugawa shogunate treasure remains one of the most mystifying in Japanese history. Ghosts of Aokigahara Forest. Aokigahara Forest, located at the foot of Mount Fuji, is known not only for its natural beauty but also for its eerie reputation. Since its appearance in Japanese myths and legends, it has acquired a mystical aura, becoming one of the most frightening and mysterious natural areas on the planet. It has also earned the nickname Suicide Forest, because it has become a place where many people come with the intention of committing suicide. But what makes this forest so terrifying? And how does its association with ghosts and spirits fit into Japanese culture? Aokigahara covers an area of approximately 30 square kilometers and is a dense forest, with a bizarre landscape immersed in verdant vegetation. Its dense undergrowth makes it difficult for even experienced hikers to navigate. Many believe that its dense trees, shading the ground, create an atmosphere in which the sense of time and space is lost. The forest seems alive, as if filled with an ominous presence. One is overcome by the feeling that invisible beings are watching them here, which only enhances its mystical aura. However, the most frightening aspect of the forest is its tragic reputation. Every autumn, hundreds of people come to Aokigahara intending to end their lives. This place has become a symbol of despair for those suffering from depression and loneliness. Suicides are a regular occurrence here, and the forest has become the focus of many stories of those who choose to end their lives in its remote corners. For the Japanese, Aokigahara has become synonymous with the final, desperate attempt to escape the pain of life, and this association is deeply ingrained in society. But it's not only tragic events that draw attention to this forest. Japanese mythology abounds with legends about spirits and ghosts that haunt Aokigahara. One of the most famous is the story of the Yurei, spirits of the dead who have found no peace and now roam the forest, luring people into their traps. These spirits are said to be able to influence a person's thoughts, leading them to commit suicide. There's also a belief that Aokigahara is home to numerous other supernatural beings, such as tree spirits and monsters that claim the souls of those lost in the forest. Legends even claim that those who come here intending to commit suicide sometimes return, not in their normal state, but as possessed by spirits. These stories persist among the people and add to the sense of terror surrounding the place. Furthermore, unexplained phenomena often occur in the Aokigahara forest. People who have attempted to explore the forest have reported that technology fails there. GPS devices, cell phones, and compasses fail, and sometimes even watches stop, as if time does not exist in the forest. These phenomena further fuel the mystical atmosphere of the place, reinforcing the belief that Aokigahara is a place where two worlds meet, the living and the dead. In recent years, the forest has become the subject of much research and a site for suicide prevention. Japanese authorities actively work with local organizations to help people in crisis situations and conduct psychotherapeutic programs. There are even patrols that regularly check the forest for people with suicidal tendencies. However, the darkness that hangs over Aokigahara is difficult to completely dispel. Today, Aokigahara Forest is not only a site of tragedy, but also a symbol of the struggle with mental illness and loneliness, which permeates Japanese culture. It is addressed as both a mystical and a social phenomenon, serving as a reminder of the complexity of human nature and the search for a way through life's dark moments. Secrets of Shinto shrines. Shintoism, one of Japan's most ancient religions, is closely linked to nature, spiritual forces, and the deification of ancestors. The central element of this religion is Shinto shrines, which can be found throughout Japan. Beyond their religious function, these shrines conceal numerous secrets and unique practices that are not always obvious to outsiders. The secrets of Shinto shrines extend beyond their architecture to how they interact with spirits, how they guard sacred artifacts, and how they maintain their connection to ancient traditions. Shinto shrines are often located in the most picturesque corners of Japan, among forests, at the foot of mountains, and near bodies of water considered sacred. These locations are no coincidence. In Shintoism, nature is considered the home of spirits, and each shrine is built in harmony with the surrounding world. Shrine architecture is typically minimalist, using natural materials such as wood and stone, further emphasizing respect for nature. However, the mysteries surrounding Shinto shrines extend beyond their location. Many shrines house sacred artifacts considered so powerful that only a select few may touch them. One such object is jingu, sacred stones, wood, or swords believed to contain spirits possessing power and wisdom. Such artifacts are often kept in shrines within shrines, inaccessible to the general public. Few people know that many Shinto shrines guard ancient manuscripts and texts, passed down from generation to generation and containing knowledge related to rituals, magical practices, and ancient rites. These texts are carefully guarded, and only initiates can study them. Rumors circulate in Japan that some of these manuscripts contain secrets related to mystical practices, as well as explanations for the appearance of supernatural beings and gods on Earth. Mystery is also hidden in the everyday rituals performed at Shinto shrines. Every gesture, every object used in rituals has its own sacred meaning. For example, offerings such as rice, water, and sake brought to the shrine not only symbolize respect for the spirits, but also serve as magical means for attracting good luck and purification. Rituals such as Shinkai, in which priests cleanse the space of evil spirits and transmit energy and a connection with ancestors, remain a mystery to most modern people. The secrets of temples can also conceal darker sides of Japanese spirituality. Shinto, like other religions, has its dark aspects associated with sacred sacrifices and blood purification rituals. In ancient times, some temples were associated with mystical practices that today seem forbidden, and although most of these customs have been banned, legends persist of certain rituals performed in the shadows of temples. Mysterious practices also relate to the connection between temples and ancestral spirits. In Shintoism, a crucial aspect is kansei, a ritual for summoning the spirits of the dead. These are not simply prayers for protection, but also a means of communicating with the dead, redirecting their power to help the living. Each temple, especially in rural areas of Japan, may be associated with the spirits of a specific clan or family, and these spirits protect not only the temple but also their descendants. At some temples, people pray not only for well-being, but also to ward off the wrath of ancestral spirits, who may interfere with the family's destiny if rituals are not performed properly. Thus, Shinto shrines are not simply places of worship, but also centers where ancient secrets and knowledge are preserved and passed down through generations. They conceal magical powers, spiritual practices, and sacred objects that have long been part of Japanese culture but remain a mystery to most. 2. Legends of Japanese ghosts and spirits. Japan is a country where the worlds of the living and the dead often intertwine, creating unique, mystical traditions saturated with ghosts, spirits, and supernatural phenomena. Japanese culture has long been steeped in belief in the supernatural, and numerous legends about ghosts, yurei, and spirits populate the country's folklore, literature, and art. These myths embody not only the fear of death, but also the idea that death is not the end, but merely a transition to another world where spirits continue to exist. One of the most well-known types of Japanese ghosts are yurei, the spirits of people who died violent or tragic deaths. They are believed to be unable to find peace in the realm of the dead due to unfinished business or injustices suffered in life. Yurei are depicted as shapeless shadows with long flowing hair and white kimonos. They are often associated with places where tragic events occurred, such as accidents, murders, or betrayals. In such places, their spirits supposedly continue to wander, haunting the living. The most famous story about yurei is the ghost in the white kimono. According to legend, a woman whose family was destroyed by enemies herself experienced terrible violence and death, and her spirit wandered the earth seeking revenge. For centuries, this story was passed down from generation to generation, and its scene, where the ghost of a woman in a white kimono appears in the moonlight, became a symbol of the terrible power of unresolved grievances and revenge. Another famous figure in Japanese folklore is the okotsu, a type of yurei. It is a spirit that, for unknown reasons, was not given due attention or respect in life, and returns to take from the living what was denied it: peace and recognition. Okotsu are often depicted as bloody ghosts that descend upon those who ignored them in life. Besides the yurei, other types of spirits also appear in Japanese legends. For example, the tekameno-ko, the spirits of children who died prematurely. These spirits are typically restless and often express their grief and anger through otherworldly manifestations, noise, glowing lights, or apparitions that frighten local residents. However, not all spirits in Japanese mythology have malicious intentions. Many legends tell of spirits who come to the living to help them. For example, Benzaiten is a goddess who can be depicted as a spiritual helper, protecting from evil and bringing good luck. She often appears during difficult times to guide and protect people from troubles. No less interesting are the spirits known as yakui, who act as guardians and protectors of certain places and objects. Yakui are often considered very benevolent and protective of their territory from evil. However, they can also manifest as frightening creatures if anyone dares to disturb their peace. Legends of Japanese ghosts are also closely intertwined with local rituals and festivals. For example, Obon is a traditional Japanese holiday celebrated at the end of summer, when deceased ancestors are remembered. Their spirits return to earth, and people offer them sacrifices and worship them. During this time, many believed that spirits returned to their homes, and people performed special rituals to welcome them and send them off to the world of the dead. Thus, Japanese culture is imbued with mystical notions of life after death, spirits, and ghosts. These spirits, whether good or evil, reflect the Japanese understanding that death is not the end, but merely a transition to another world. Attention to these beings, their stories, and the religious practices that have survived through the centuries create a unique atmosphere of mysticism and mystery in which the traditions and beliefs of the Japanese people continue to thrive. The disappearance of the samurai class. Samurai are perhaps some of the most famous and legendary figures in Japanese history. The samurai class was not only a military elite, but also an important social and cultural strata of Japanese society. However, despite its powerful role in the country's history, the samurai class disappeared in the late 19th century, marking one of Japan's greatest political and social transformations. The samurai began their history in the Heian period, 794–1185, when their role was linked to the protection and maintenance of order in Japan. Later, with the development of feudalism, samurai became increasingly influential and played a key role in the country's politics. They served their lord, daimyo, protecting his lands and property, and also managed regions, providing services in exchange for land and other privileges. Their status was enshrined in society, and over time, samurai became a symbol of honor, discipline, and warriors who followed the strict code of Bushido, the samurai code of honor. By the end of the 16th century, with the rise of the Tokugawa shogunate, the samurai became the dominant military class, controlling almost all aspects of Japanese life. Shogun Tokugawa Ieyasu, who established power in Japan in the early 17th century, significantly strengthened the samurai's influence by establishing a rigid hierarchy that divided society into distinct classes. Samurai, occupying the highest rung of this social ladder, received land grants and privileges. However, at the end of the 19th century, following the Meiji Restoration of 1868, the Japanese government decided to implement radical reforms aimed at modernizing the country and its economy. In this process, the samurai, as part of the feudal system, found themselves marginalized. In 1871, a law was passed that effectively abolished the feudal lord system and abolished samurai titles. This dealt a blow to the samurai class, which had long formed the basis of Japanese military might and power. Instead of continuing to serve feudal lords, samurai were forced to seek new ways of existing in a rapidly changing society. Many lost their lands, and their privileges were revoked. In exchange, the samurai were offered small compensations, but this did not satisfy them. The formation of a new Japanese army based on Western models, with the adoption of conscription for all citizens, finally ended the existence of the samurai class. The samurai, having lost their place in society, found themselves in a difficult situation. Many of them, unaccustomed to life in peacetime and unable to adapt to the new conditions, found themselves on the brink of poverty. Some samurai tried to preserve their identity and the principles of Bushido, even if it meant confronting the new authorities, but in most cases, they were forced to adapt to the new order. Some samurai attempted to continue their military careers, but these attempts were largely fruitless. With the disappearance of the samurai class, so too did its culture. The Bushido Code, the foundation of samurai life, gave way to more modern and democratic values. Despite this, the samurai left an indelible mark on Japanese culture and history. Their legacy embodies such values as honor, loyalty, and personal valor. These principles continued to influence Japanese society and culture even after the disappearance of the samurai class itself. The disappearance of the samurai class became an important symbol of Japan's transition from a feudal system to a more modern form of government. This process, which was both painful and inevitable, left behind many questions and mysteries. Why were the samurai unable to adapt to the new conditions? And what might Japan have looked like had they managed to maintain their position in society? The mystery of the disappearance of this great class continues to captivate historians and researchers to this day. The mystery of Katsushika Hokusai's missing paintings. Katsushika Hokusai is one of the most outstanding Japanese artists, whose works have not only become part of global culture, but also left behind numerous secrets and mysteries that continue to intrigue researchers and art lovers. His famous series of prints, 36 Views of Mount Fuji, including one of his most famous paintings, The Great Wave off Kanagawa, embodies not only the beauty of nature, but also the artist's skill. However, behind his popularity, lie not only recognized masterpieces but also numerous lost works, the mystery of which remains unsolved. Hokusai was born in 1738, and during his lifetime created a vast number of works that had a profound influence on Japanese art, and, later, the world. His works became an integral part of Japanese culture and contributed significantly to the development of the ukiyo-e, Japanese woodblock print, genre, which combined depictions of everyday life, nature, and mythological creatures. However, despite his worldwide fame, some of Hokusai's paintings remain unknown or have vanished without a trace. Throughout his life, Hokusai was known for his work across a variety of themes and styles, and while many of his works have become famous, a significant number have disappeared, possibly due to losses or fires that plagued Japan at the time. But others have disappeared for more mysterious reasons. There are many myths and rumors surrounding Hokusai's missing paintings. Some claim he hid certain works, perhaps because they were too personal or too daring for the time. Hokusai was a man of extraordinary determination, and at one point in his life, he strove for perfection, revising and frequently reworking his works. This could be the reason why some of his works were destroyed or carefully hidden. It's also worth noting that Hokusai was well known among collectors, and his works often found their way into private collections, which may also explain the disappearance of some of his paintings. Many of his prints sold for high prices, and owners weren't always interested in preserving them, especially in an era when the value of art was often perceived differently than it is today. This could also have contributed to the loss or disappearance of his works. One of the most mysterious episodes surrounding the disappearance of Hokusai's paintings concerns the final period of his life. After completing his famous series, 36 Views of Mount Fuji, Hokusai continued to work on other projects, but at the age of 80, he encountered financial difficulties. Some of his paintings during this period may have been sold or given to collectors. Many were deemed less valuable or significant and were therefore forgotten or lost over time. However, all these missing paintings remain the subject of searches and research. For many connoisseurs of Japanese art, the mystery of Hokusai's missing works remains unsolved. Some believe that new paintings or prints that were lost or hidden will be discovered in the future. But for now, these mysteries remain unsolved, and we continue to admire the works that have survived. The mystery of the lost city of the Ryukyu Kingdom. The Ryukyu Kingdom, located on the Ryukyu archipelago in southern Japan, represents one of the most enigmatic and little-studied parts of Japanese history. This state existed from the 14th century to the mid-19th century, but its demise remains shrouded in many unsolved mysteries. Particularly enigmatic is the story of the vanished city of Ryukyu, which was the kingdom's capital and the center of its power, culture, and trade. The Ryukyu Kingdom, which included the Okinawa Islands and several neighboring archipelagos, was an independent state that successfully maintained diplomatic relations with both China and Japan, as well as other Southeast Asian nations. This made it an important trade and cultural hub in the region. At its height, the kingdom was a thriving center of trade, art, and science, and its rulers, the Ryukyu kings, were renowned for their wisdom and justice. The capital of the kingdom was the city of Shuri, located on the island of Okinawa. The city, with its majestic temples, palaces, and commercial districts, became an important cultural and political center. One of the city's most famous structures was Shuri Castle, which became a symbol of the power and grandeur of the Ryukyu Kingdom. Built in the 14th century, the castle's unique architecture blended elements of Chinese and Japanese culture. However, despite its importance, in the mid-19th century, following the annexation of the Ryukyu Islands by Japan in 1869, the city disappeared from the political map. Immediately prior to the annexation of Shuri, Japanese authorities destroyed the castle and many other buildings, and the city itself essentially lost its political and cultural status. The events leading up to this destruction remain one of the most mysterious chapters in Japanese history. The Japanese, having completed the annexation process, carefully erased all traces of Ryukyu's existence as an independent kingdom. Shuri Castle was restored in the post-war period, but its former glory was a thing of the past. Many archaeologists and historians wonder where the cultural treasures and historical artifacts of Ryukyu disappeared to. Historical documents that survive about Ryukyu point to an extensive trade network with China and other countries, but after the annexation, almost all records of this cultural heritage were destroyed. Archaeological excavations near the former city of Shuri have uncovered only fragments of what might have once been important to the kingdom: coins, pottery, and remnants of ancient artifacts. However, no major artifacts or documents have yet been found, that could shed light on the real reasons for the city's disappearance. Furthermore, there are several myths and rumors surrounding the disappearance of the Ryukyus. Some claim that after their annexation by Japan, the Ryukyu rulers were forced to conceal their treasures and ancient knowledge, perhaps to protect them from destruction by Japanese rule. Others believe that after the kingdom's fall, the remnants of Ryukyu culture were scattered across Japan, and many treasures may have been lost or destroyed to erase traces of independence. Today, the former city of Shuri and its surroundings are an important historical and cultural heritage site, but the mystery of the vanished Ryukyu remains unsolved. The history of this kingdom and its capital is not only the mystery of a vanished civilization, but also a symbol of how an entire culture can vanish, leaving behind only shadows of the past. The mystery of Honshu Island and its hidden shrines. Honshu Island, the largest in the Japanese archipelago, has long captivated researchers and historians not only for its natural beauty and cultural significance, but also for the many mysteries hidden within its depths. Among these mysteries, the ancient shrines located in the most remote and inaccessible areas of the island hold a special place. These shrines contain not only historical artifacts, but also unknown, mystical secrets that have captivated the imagination for centuries. Among the many temples and shrines scattered across Honshu, there are some that are virtually impossible for ordinary tourists to visit. They are located in mountain valleys, on the peaks of rugged ridges, or within dense forests, where even modern maps don't always accurately indicate their location. Locals have long considered these places sacred and often treated them with particular care. Complex rituals were performed at these shrines, designed to maintain harmony between people and the spirits guarding the island. The history of these shrines dates back to ancient times, when the first centers of religious worship were established on Honshu. It is believed that these sites were chosen for their geographical location, often mountain peaks offering views of the surrounding countryside, or gorges where water flows particularly quietly and cleanly. In the Shinto tradition, such places were considered the abodes of kami, spirits with power over nature, people, and events. It was to them that the first rulers and tribal leaders appealed, performing rituals and offerings to protect their lands and people. Despite their millennia-long history, the exact purposes and functions of many shrines remain unknown. In some cases, archaeologists have discovered unusual artifacts inside the shrines, ceramic figurines, ritual objects, and ancient scrolls with incomprehensible symbols. These finds suggest that the shrines of Honshu were used not only as places of worship but also as centers of knowledge, possibly including medical, astronomical, or magical practices that have been lost throughout history. One of the most intriguing features of Honshu's shrines is their secrecy and protection from outsiders. Local legends tell of labyrinths, underground passages, and hidden passages that could lead to secret rooms containing relics. Some shrines are built in such a way that access to the central area is strictly restricted, and a casual visitor is unlikely to enter without special permission or knowledge of secret rituals. These secret elements enhance the island's mystical aura and make every visit to the shrine an adventure full of dangers and surprises. Researchers are particularly interested in the connection between sanctuaries and nature. Many are built in harmony with the flow of water, the shape of mountains, and the position of the sun at different times of the year. These sites are believed to have created a special energetic atmosphere, enhancing the effects of rituals. For example, in some sanctuaries, sunlight falls directly on the altar or sacred object on certain days of the year, emphasizing the importance of certain dates and astronomical cycles. No less mysterious are the stories of spiritual manifestations in these places. Locals claim to sometimes hear footsteps, whispers, or voices that have no physical source. At a number of shrines, there have been instances of objects moving of their own accord, and the water in sacred springs becoming turbid or bubbling for no apparent reason. These phenomena were long considered evidence of the presence of spirits and forces protecting the shrines from outsiders. Interestingly, many of Honshu's shrines are associated with legends of heroes and rulers who sought their protection in times of trouble. Stories tell of ancient warriors coming here to receive blessings before battle, and rulers to enlist the spirit's support in governing their lands. These legends demonstrate that the shrines serve not only as religious centers but also as important social and political powerhouses. Today, researchers continue to explore these sites using modern technology, including satellite imagery, ground-penetrating radar, and 3D modeling. Despite this, many mysteries remain unsolved, and every visit to the Honshu Shrine remains a discovery. Local residents continue to observe traditions, performing rituals passed down from generation to generation, maintaining a connection to the island's past and mystique. Thus, the mystery of Honshu Island and its hidden shrines remains one of Japan's most intriguing mysteries. These places conceal ancient knowledge, mystical practices, and historical secrets that continue to captivate the imaginations of explorers and travelers. Honshu's shrines are not only a cultural heritage, but also a symbol of how mystical and spiritual life intertwines with nature and history, creating a unique phenomenon that remains an unsolved mystery to this day. The cursed swords of the Ashikaga clan. The samurai clans that emerged in Japan during the Middle Ages were renowned not only for their military might, but also for the mystical legends surrounding their weapons. One of the most enigmatic and terrifying stories is the legend of the cursed swords of the Ashikaga clan. These swords, renowned for their deadly sharpness and extraordinary beauty, possess not only physical strength but also a mysterious energy that, according to legend, could influence the fates of their owners and those who dared to wield them. The Ashikaga clan ruled Japan during the Muromachi period, beginning in the 14th century. Its shoguns sought to consolidate their power through military superiority, and swords became a symbol not only of military might, but also of the cult of honor, loyalty, and blood. Every sword forged by a clan master was considered sacred, and its possession could determine the fate of the samurai and the entire family. For this reason, they were treated with particular care, and some legends claim that the swords possessed a cursed power capable of punishing those who violated their honor. According to legend, Ashikaga clan swords were cursed even at the forging stage. The craftsmen who created them allegedly used purification rituals and sacrifices to imbue the weapons with magical powers. These rituals involved the spirits of ancestors, and the blood used in the forging of some swords was believed to be necessary for the sword to gain consciousness. Legends claim that each sword was capable of testing its owner's loyalty, courage, and adherence to the code of Bushido. Breaking these rules supposedly triggered a curse that could lead to tragic consequences. One of the most famous stories is the case of the Kagetsu sword. This sword, created for one of the clan's warriors, proved so powerful that its wielder won several battles, but soon died under mysterious circumstances. It was believed that the sword's spirits punished him for his excessive pride and violation of tradition. After this incident, the sword was passed on to another warrior, but tragedies continued. Over time, rumors circulated that the sword was cursed, and that anyone who tried to use it for personal gain was doomed to die. Beyond death and misfortune, legends about the cursed swords of the Ashikaga clan claim the weapons could act on their own. There are stories of the swords sometimes appearing on battlefields when their owners were in danger, seemingly protecting them, but simultaneously wreaking havoc on those around them. Others claim the swords could disappear and reappear in different places, as if they had a will of their own. The secret of these swords also lay in their unique construction. According to legend, some Ashikaga clan blades were forged using metals mined in sacred sites, and their structure included symbols intended to protect the owner. However, these symbols could also serve as a curse if the sword's owner failed to observe all the rules and rituals associated with its use. Thus, the sword was both a weapon and a test, a verification of the samurai's character and spiritual strength. Over time, these stories were passed down from generation to generation, evolving into myths that are still shared in Japanese culture. Even today, collectors and researchers of samurai weapons note strange coincidences associated with Ashikaga clan swords, including the disappearance of some specimens or the sudden misfortunes of their owners. These legends enhance the mystical aura of the clan and its weapons. The cursed swords of the Ashikaga clan remain a symbol of how the ancient Japanese perceived the connection between weapons, spirits, and fate. They demonstrate that in Japan, samurai culture was not limited to physical strength and skill, but embraced deep spiritual and mystical aspects, where any object could carry power or a curse. Even today, stories about the Ashikaga clan swords continue to stir the imagination and remain part of Japan's mysterious history. Mysterious underground tunnels of Kyoto. Kyoto, the former capital of Japan, is known for its temples, gardens, and traditional architecture. But beneath its streets lies a whole world of mystery, underground tunnels steeped in legend and mystical tales. These tunnels connect ancient temples, palaces, and sacred sites and remain a source of debate among historians, archaeologists, and researchers. Kyoto's mysterious underground passages raise questions about how and why they were created and what secrets they hold within their walls. The history of the underground tunnels dates back to the Edo period and even earlier, when Kyoto was an important political and religious center. It is believed that some of the tunnels were built for the safe passage of soldiers and rulers, as well as for secret communication between temples and palaces. According to legend, these passages may have been used to evacuate important individuals during civil conflicts, or to secretly transport treasures and religious relics. For this reason, Kyoto's underground passages have acquired a reputation as secret arteries known only to a select few. The tunnel's architecture is striking in its craftsmanship. Some are carved into solid rock, reinforced with stone, and feature ventilation shafts, indicating sophisticated engineering. Other tunnels have complex branches and a labyrinthine structure, making them impassable to the uninitiated. Legend has it that many of these passages lead to underground chambers containing relics, ancient books, and even treasures belonging to shoguns and influential temples. Legends of mystical phenomena associated with the tunnels are particularly noteworthy. Locals report strange sounds, echoing footsteps, whispers, and strange voices heard within the tunnels. Some claim to have seen glowing, ghost-like figures that disappear when approached. These stories have fueled the mystical reputation of the underground passages for centuries and created an atmosphere of mystery that attracts researchers and paranormal enthusiasts. Furthermore, the tunnels played an important role in Kyoto's religious and ceremonial life. According to some sources, monks used the underground passages to perform secret rituals or to circumvent city restrictions when they needed to access sacred sites unobserved. These passages could also serve as shelter during natural disasters such as earthquakes or fires, making them vital elements of the city's infrastructure. Not all of the tunnels survive to this day. Some were filled in or destroyed during the city's modernization, particularly during the Meiji Restoration and after World War II. However, some passages remain accessible for exploration, though they require caution and preparation, as their labyrinthine structure makes them dangerous for the uninitiated. Archaeologists and researchers continue to explore these underground passages using modern technologies such as ground-penetrating radar and 3D scanning. Despite this, it remains impossible to fully map all the tunnels or determine the precise purpose of each one. Some believe the most important parts of the underground network remain hidden, with only the initiated knowing all the secrets. Kyoto's mysterious underground tunnels are not only a historical phenomenon, but also a symbol of how the past is intertwined with mysticism. They demonstrate that ancient Japanese cities were well planned, and their architecture concealed secrets accessible only to a select few. The secrets of the tunnels continue to fascinate researchers and remain one of the most intriguing mysteries of the ancient Japanese capital. Legends about the spirits of Aso volcano. Mount Aso, located on the island of Kyushu, is one of Japan's largest and most active volcanoes, and its mysteries extend beyond its geological features. Since ancient times, locals have associated Aso with spirits and mystical phenomena, claiming that the volcano has a will of its own and can influence people's lives. Legends about the spirits of Aso reflect the unique blend of nature, religion, and mythology characteristic of Japanese culture, where every mountain, river, and volcano can be a source of spiritual power. According to legend, the summit of Aso is inhabited by kami, mountain spirits who can both help people and punish them for violating the natural order. For centuries, local residents have performed rituals and offerings to appease the volcano's spirits, believing this would ensure a bountiful harvest, protection from natural disasters, and safe travels. There were special days when pilgrims ascended to the crater, bringing offerings, and performed purification rites to establish a connection with the spirits. Legends claim that the spirits of Aso manifest through various natural phenomena. Sometimes, unusual cloud formations that take the shapes of people or animals are observed, or unusual flashes of light emanate from the crater. Locals believe these phenomena are signs that the spirits are watching over people, and anyone who ignores their warnings may face danger. Stories of people who dared to violate the volcano's prohibitions are quite disturbing. It is believed that those who attempted to extract resources or build on the slopes without the spirit's permission encountered misfortunes, landslides, eruptions, or sudden illnesses. These legends served as a warning and simultaneously as an explanation for the volcano's unpredictable phenomena, which otherwise seemed inexplicable. Particular attention is paid to historical events. During certain periods, the volcano did indeed become active, and eruptions caused devastation in the surrounding area. Locals believe that such outbreaks were manifestations of the wrath of the Aso spirits, and rituals performed by pilgrims helped mitigate the effects of the eruptions. Even after science began studying volcanic activity, legends about the Aso spirits persisted, retaining their cultural and spiritual significance. Furthermore, the slopes of Aso are home to shrines and temples associated with the volcano's spirits. These sites are sites of pilgrimage and research. The shrines preserve ancient rituals, many of which cannot be fully understood without knowledge of local mythology. Some researchers believe that it was the Aso spirits that inspired the architecture of the temples located on the slopes, and their location corresponded to astronomical and energy lines that were considered important for harmony with the spirits. Legends of the Aso spirits are also linked to historical figures. Samurai and monks passing through the region reported visions they encountered on their way to the volcano. Some claim to have seen silhouettes of people in traditional clothing appearing and disappearing in the haze of the crater, while others heard voices or footsteps coming from the empty slopes. Today, Aso perfume continues to be part of Japanese culture and the region's tourist appeal. Pilgrims and explorers continue to observe ancient rituals, and local stories about spirits are passed down from generation to generation. Legends about the volcano and its spirits create a sense of mystery that makes Aso not only an object of scientific interest, but also a place where myth, nature, and spirituality intersect. Vanished villages in Nagano Prefecture. Nagano Prefecture, located in the central part of Japan's Honshu Island, is known for its mountains, dense forests, and unique cultural traditions. However, beyond its picturesque landscapes and historical monuments, Nagano holds many secrets, including vanished villages that have puzzled historians, archaeologists, and local residents for centuries. These villages disappeared for various reasons, but their stories still raise questions about the region's cultural and social heritage. The vanished villages of Nagano existed primarily in remote mountainous areas, where climate conditions and natural disasters created constant challenges. Many are believed to have been founded in the Middle Ages, when local residents sought land for agriculture and hunting. These settlements were self-sufficient. Residents built wooden houses, created terraces for growing rice, and developed crafts and inter-village trade. However, at a certain point in history, many villages in Nagano began to gradually disappear. The most common causes are attributed to natural disasters: landslides, earthquakes, heavy snowfalls, and floods that destroyed homes and fields. Avalanches and mudslides were particularly devastating, often wiping out entire settlements, leaving no trace for future generations. Legends claim that in some villages, local residents warned each other of impending disasters, but the natural disasters were stronger, and people were forced to abandon their homes. In addition to natural causes, there were also social factors. Some villages disappeared due to epidemics or conflicts between neighboring tribes. In other cases, residents abandoned mountain settlements to move to larger cities, where new opportunities for work, trade, and education arose. These migrations were accompanied by a loss of knowledge about the crafts and rituals unique to each village, creating a sense of cultural loss. An intriguing aspect of Nagano's lost villages is their connection to myths and legends. Locals reported hearing strange sounds in the mountains and forests where the villages once stood. Footsteps, whispers, songs that no one sings. Some claim to have seen shadows of people, seemingly continuing their usual activities, despite the villages being long abandoned. These legends have created a mystical reputation for these places and fueled interest in studying these lost villages. Archaeologists exploring Nagano are discovering the remains of houses, stone foundations, terraces, and ritual sites that confirm the existence of these villages. Excavations are uncovering everyday objects, pottery, tools, and jewelry that help reconstruct the residents' daily lives and culture. However, despite these discoveries, the exact number of vanished villages and the reasons for their disappearance remain a subject of debate. Some researchers suggest that Nagano's vanished villages weren't simply abandoned, but may have been deliberately destroyed as a result of military conflicts or political decisions aimed at controlling the mountainous territories. Legends about these events are passed down from generation to generation, creating layers of myth that are difficult to separate from historical fact. Even today, tourists and researchers come to the mountainous regions of Nagano to see the remains of these settlements and experience the atmosphere of a vanished life. Despite the absence of living inhabitants, the forests and mountains retain an energetic memory of the past, and myths and legends make these places unique and mystical. The vanished villages of Nagano are more than just ruins. They are symbols of lost culture, historical change, and the power of nature. They remain a mystery, inspiring researchers, historians, and mystical enthusiasts to search for answers and reconnect with the past. Each village conceals its own secrets, and exploring them allows us to better understand not only the history of Nagano Prefecture, but also the complex interplay of nature, people, and culture in Japan. Japan remains one of the most enigmatic countries in the world, where the past and mystical legends intertwine with the present. From the mysterious Mount Fuji to the hidden shrines of Honshu, from the Aokigahara forest to cursed samurai swords, each story reveals a new layer of the unknown. These mysteries reveal that Japan's outward beauty conceals a world full of spirits, mysteries, and incredible events. Even when we return to reality, memories of its mystical places linger, making us wonder how many more undiscovered secrets this country holds. In Japan, the mysteries never end.